Everybody, welcome back. It's 2023, another Touchpoint Group Insight session, and we're going to be looking at the US Tier 1 banks. 2022, the year in review, Tony Patrick, a big year and some standout performers.
Yeah, definitely, Glenn. Thanks for that. So, US Tier 1. So today we're looking at US Bank, Capital One, PNC, and Truist. And this time around, we'll get a comparison across all of North America to see how well these banks are doing in comparison to that group. So first of all, let's just jump in and do our standard. What are the scores been doing? What's been going on here? So one of the things we always see is this consistency from US Bank and also from Capital One. So consistently at the top there, above 4, and for the case of US Bank, always above 4.5 and around 4.75. So a very consistent view there. And of course, we can see here what Truist has done with the SunTrust and BB&T merger. They've actually, from my perspective, they've actually regained the trust of their customers, and they've actually built that back up. And that merge has been successful across the year. So that's a nice success story for them. So let's move into a comparison across. One of the things we can see here about this particular group of 4, US Bank, Capital One, PNC, and Truist, is that the top 2, US Bank and Capital One, are always sitting in that top 3. So very, very positive. And US Bank is actually leading across North America and has been for a long time. And they're always staying in that number 1 position, always sort of about 0.2 ahead of CitiBank just behind. So that's from my perspective, that's a very positive thing. So a virtual award goes out to US Bank for the consistency and their leadership across the whole year. Capital One as well, their consistency is also very positive, sort of sitting around 4.3, 4.4 across the year. It's still, even though they're sitting behind US Bank, it's still very, very high, and they've done very well across the year. And I suppose the third award, the virtual award I'd like to give out this time around, is that improvement from Truist. It's always difficult in mergers to regain that trust of customers. And it looks like they are well on the way to actually doing a great job. So even looking at the rankings here, we can see that across the whole year, they're ranked 14th. Then if we look at Q4, they're ranked 12th. And we look at December, they're ranked 7th. So they're sort of jumping up the ranks as they move on. So we expect good things for Truist in 2023. So let's move forward into having a look at a bit of detail on what we can see here as to why each of these banks has done so well or not so well. So this is across the whole year. So one of the things we can see is this is our SURF analysis. So looking at security, usability, reliability, and functionality. And you want these things to be as low as possible because these are all pain points. These are problems customers are having. Now, one of the standouts across all of this is this 0.6% in authentication issues for US Bank. That is very low. That's the lowest globally. And we saw for some other US nationals that it was around 2.5%. At 0.6 is very, very low. So they seem to have that well under control. And this is why they're leading globally. That people can log in easily and not have issues. Also, reliability is at 2%. So very, very positive there. But of course, the other end of that, the likes of PNC and Truist, they still have room to improve. Now, of course, this is Truist across the whole year. And we know that in the past quarter, in the last half of the year, they've done very well. So this will actually be better for them in the second half of the year. So very positive there. Let's move forward, though, and have a look at how they're doing on each of the core journeys. Now, these core journeys are the things that customers think are important, or the things they actually use and want to be using in a mobile app. So here we're looking at things like depositing checks, checking account balance, and making P2P payments. And we can see one of the things which is stand out is US Bank is really high there. And we want this to be as high as possible because this is just the average score when people discuss that particular journey. And they're sitting above 4 in every single case and well above it in a few of them as well. So very, very positive from US Bank, and customers there are having a very, very good journey across each of these areas. So let's have a look, though, at how they've actually what they actually look like across the year. So what's the sort of sentiment? What's the view of what's going on with each of these apps? So first of all, I'm looking at US Bank. So they've done very well. So obviously, it's all green. It's all positive. They talk about deposits. They talk about good app performance, good mobile bank. They even bring up journeys, like good transfer between accounts, good app check feature. It's spontaneously bringing up journeys and saying how good they are is a very positive thing for any bank. So very good from their perspective. Let's move on to have a look at Capital One. So also doing very well, but we need to see, are there areas to improve on here? So one of the things we can see here is that although it's all mostly green, there's a few things coming through, like the account balance feature, checking your account balance. Some of the basics in the journeys aren't quite up to scratch, but again, they're doing very well. This is mostly green, very good. It's just a few small things to improve on. What about P&C? Let's have a look at P&C across the year. So here we see a very different story, because there's the tale of sort of the two ends of the spectrum here. Here we can see there's things like, particular things like technical issues stand out, technology issues, poor authentication and login in here, and even some of the features. The Zelle payment feature is also a bit of an issue here. So it's just showing there's some room. This is about room to improve. Where could they actually make things better for themselves in 2023? So let's have a look at Truist and how that's, obviously they've done better in the second half of the year, but again, we can see where they were having issues again. So technology issues were also a problem for them. Poor authentication, a few bugs, but also some of the features weren't working as expected. So again, here there's the poor check deposit, a few bugs coming through. So obviously they're doing very well, but there's always room to improve for them across the year. So that's pretty much it for the year in review, and some very positive things coming through with a few of the banks there. Thank you, Glenn.
Thanks, Tony. And as we're looking back to 2022, looking ahead to 2023, the theme that is coming through from many of the banks that we're dealing with is in and around cost savings and reducing that customer churn. So looking at this sort of data to improve that experience and keep that those customers on board long term is really, really critical. Likewise, reducing that call center contact time, which is going to reduce those internal costs as well. So if anybody would like a copy of that large chart with all of that data in it, feel free to sing out. We're more than happy to send it out to you. And have a great one. Enjoy.